Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Todd, if you want to share your screen. Thank you for joining us, Angela and Ronnie Joe. Todd Hansen and Lana Running Wolf from the American Indian Student Achievement Unit here at the OPI are going to give us an update and an overview of MACIE. Take it away, Todd.
Thank you. I'll get my screen up here. Make sure everybody can see that. Is that visible to everyone? So Lana, do you have an introduction or do you want me to begin?
No, you could begin.
Okay.
You could give the introduction and I'll add at the end.
Sounds good. Well, thank you everyone. Pleasure to join you today. So I just wanted to provide some updates on the work that we've been doing in the American Indian Student Achievement Unit with our friends over in MACIE. So in the past 6 months, the MACIE Council has been engaged in an extensive strategic planning process, resulting in the restructuring of the organization's operational processes to bring them into alignment with both their mission and their vision. So I wanted to briefly share with you some of the foundation upon which this restructuring has been built. So the mission as outlined in the MACIE Constitution, which was approved a little over just about a year ago now, is pretty straightforward. It was formed and established by an agreement between the Board of Public Ed and the Office of Public Instruction with the intention of functioning in an advisory capacity for education of American Indian students. Students from all school districts and systems of education across the state of Montana. The Advisory Council is intended to be a very strong voice for collaborative efforts among tribal, state, federal organizations, institutions, groups, and agencies with the express purpose of promoting high quality and equitable educational opportunities for all American Indian students in Montana. This includes, but is not limited to, certainly culture, language, and Indian education for all. The purpose of MACIE is to advise the Board of Public Ed and the Superintendent of Public Instruction in matters affecting the education of American Indian students. This falls into the area of accreditation, certification, and teacher training. It's also meant to promote equal educational opportunities that improve the quality of education provided to American Indian students throughout the state of Montana, and then to advise, monitor, evaluate, and act as an advocate for the implementation of Indian education for all as provided for in the Montana Constitution. And then finally, to carry out all the goals and responsibilities, report to BPE and OPI, and complete an annual progress review. Voting members of MACIE are 8 representatives from each Montana tribe, 3 representatives from the Urban School District Indian Education Departments, 1 from the Montana Federation of Teachers, 1 from SAM, 1 representative from Indian Impact Aid Schools, 1 from MTSBA and the Indian School Board Caucus, a representative from the Montana Indian Education Association, and 1 representative from Class 7 teachers. In addition to that, MACIE also has 6 ex officio or non-voting members. That's a representative from OPI, 1 from BPE, 1 from the MUS system, 1 from the Bureau of Indian Education Schools, Tribal Head Starts, and tribal colleges. MACIE's relationship and responsibility to the Board of Public Ed is to advise BPE in matters affecting education of American Indian students, including accreditation, certification, and teacher training, to report to BPE also to complete an annual progress review, to act as liaisons between both OPI and Board of Public Education and related member organizations. Board of Public Ed and OPI jointly make appointments to MACIE. The chairperson or designee is there to represent MACIE at all BPE meetings. Its relationship to OPI is to advise the Montana Office of Public Instruction in matters affecting education of American Indian students. It also reports to OPI in an annual progress review. It acts as liaison between OPI and BPE. And as indicated, the appointments are joint between OPI and BPE to the MACIE board. And then once again, the ex officio shall assist MACIE in the efforts to achieve its goals. So this is where the role of the state superintendent of schools is critical. The Montana Office of Public Instruction under this model provides vision, advocacy, and support for the leadership for schools and communities to ensure that all students meet the challenges of tomorrow's opportunities. MACIE's relationship to its external partners, including OPI, tribal education departments, tribal colleges, AHEC, AMA, MIEA, BIE schools, Native language immersion programs, tribal councils. As you can see, MACIE represents a broad coalition of strategic external partners and constituencies. In fulfilling its advisory responsibility and obligations to the Board of Public Ed and OPI, MACIE and its external partners, MACIE in its issue advocacy role continually monitors the implementation and integration of initiatives, which we're going to talk a little bit more about here in detail, that it has identified, that it has internally elevated, and that it wants to support through ongoing communication and collaboration with its strategic partners. When amplifying that voice of its constituency and tribal communities and school systems, MACIE shares the ongoing responsibility along with those strategic partners to promote, enrich, and enhance awareness of those efforts and improving educational equity, opportunity, and American Indian student achievement. MACIE's alignment of its guiding principles to its goals. As you can see, it is the guiding principles that actually inform and support those goals. So you can see the mission represented here in its guiding principles of advising, of promoting, of improving, monitoring, evaluating, advocating for, exploring, and providing. That process all results in the adoption of strategic goals within the council. I want to share with you the 4 goals that have been recently adopted by the MACIE Advisory Council following an extensive goal setting and planning exercise with the board, in which we did a survey of all members to find out what their priorities were in looking at the work that MACIE should be engaging in. And we have here the first goal. And the intent of the first one was to improve community, family, and parental engagement with local school systems. In fulfillment of that intent, the goal that MACIE has adopted is that they will advocate for and alongside communities, families, parents, and school systems that serve both Native American and American Indian student populations with the intent of promoting efforts to ensure safe, secure, and stable educational environments where, most importantly, those students and parents feel welcome and supported. The other goal that was adopted of the 4, and the intent behind the goal number 2, was to improve school programming targeted at systemic racism or disparate discipline, student achievement, and historical, or more accurately, generational trauma. To that end, the second goal that MACIE adopted is to encourage the adoption of school-based programming which addresses the presence of systemic racism and the associated disparate discipline of Native American and American Indian students in the public schools, with the intent of supporting efforts focused on exploring the impact of these conditions and the impact that they have upon ultimately student achievement. The third goal, once again, the intent was to expand access to culture, language, and culturally relevant curriculum. To that end, MACIE will act as an advocate for meaningful integration of culture and Indigenous language in Montana schools by promoting the adoption of culturally relevant curriculum and instruction in support of the expression of Native American, American Indian student self-identity and self-actualization. And just one example of how the intent goes into practice with this goal and with the restructuring that we've talked about, MACIE now has adopted a very active committee system. And in relation to this goal, an initiative was brought before the board, and the board now, or the council now looks for the alignment between its goals and the initiatives that it wants to support and promote. And to that end, a subcommittee was formed around issues of language and culture. That subcommittee is made up of a group of MACIE members and external partners, as well as OPI staff, to create an actionable request to their strategic partners, that being OPI and the Board of Public Education. So that initiative is now being elevated through the internal processes of the committee structure with the intent that at the end of that process, the handoff will be made to its strategic partners for consideration of implementing new practices, new programs, or new policies that reflect the intent and the goal of MACIE when it comes to language immersion and cultural programming. The fourth goal, the intent was to create opportunity for equitable access to virtual teaching and learning platforms and connectivity. We know that this is a widespread issue, not only across the state of Montana, but in particular, the challenges that are being faced by our tribal school districts when it comes to consistency and access to connectivity. Knowing that was going to be the new landscape that we were likely to be on for an extended period of time, MACIE adopted a goal supporting community programs that were focused on providing equitable access for students to technological resources and internet connectivity within those rural communities and school systems in response to this growing demand for the integration of virtual teaching and learning in their classrooms. Any questions on any of the four goals? So the advisory council structure is different than your typical board in that the goal of the advisory council is to provide valuable assistance and advice and expertise. The advisory council members are hand-selected and recruited for that expertise that they can bring to the organization. And the advisory council members help fill in gaps of knowledge and experience, and most importantly, perspective. Unlike a board of directors, the advisory council does not have formal legal responsibilities for decision-making authority and can't issue directives that must be followed. Instead, the advisory council makes recommendations and provides information and materials to the problem solvers, which are their external partners, principally the Board of Public Education and the Office of Public Instruction. And that's what I have.
So what I am going to add to the presentation is who is on the board. I think it's important that that everybody knows who's on the board, who the representatives are, and where they come from. And I should have been opening that while Todd was presenting. But we want the legislators and everybody to know who the members are. So I'm going to open up a document here just in a second. Okay. Sorry. Okay. Can you guys see that?
Yes.
Got it.
So we have Jennifer Smith is our chair, and she is her working title is the Indian Education Director for the Billings Public Schools. She represents urban and billing districts. We have Dr. Jason Cummings. He is the vice chair, and he represents the principal, or he's actually a principal at the Crow Agency Public Schools. I'm not sure if I should share this. I'm going to stop sharing the document and I'm going to read it because I don't know if I should be sharing their contact information. They might not like that. But anyway, so Dr. Jason Cummings, he's the vice chair. He's the principal of Crow Agency Public Schools. He is that represents class 7 teachers. So he is very much of an advocate when it comes to Class 7 licensure. We have Dawn Bishop Moore. She's the secretary. Excuse me. She's the board chair of the Lakota Economic Development, and she represents the Indian Impact Schools of Montana. We have Harold Dusty Bull. He is the Blackfeet Tribe Higher Education Director, and he represents the Blackfeet Nation. We have Void St. Pierre. He is the Rocky Boy School District Superintendent, and he represents MACIE for the Chippewa Cree tribe. We have Michael Doty, who is pending an approval through the Board of Public Ed and OPI. He is a CSKT Tribal Business Council member. He represents the Confederate Salish and Kootenai tribe. Currently, we have a vacancy in the Crow tribe, and so we're actively looking for a representative for that position. And then we're pending an approval for Michelle Crazy, which is, she's the director of North Central Montana Upward Bound Program, and she represents Fort Belknap. We have Megan Gorno. She is the Fort Peck Tribal Education Director. She represents Fort Peck. We have Iris Kills Eagle. She is on the Little Shell Tribal Business Council, and she represents Little Shell Tribe. We have Norma Bixby. She's the Northern Cheyenne Tribal Education Director. She represents Northern Cheyenne. We have Jordan Foster. She is an Indian Education for All instructional coach for the Great Falls Public Schools, and she is representing Montana Federation of Public Employees. We have Yancey Beston. He is the Fraser School Board Chair, and he represents MTSBA and Indian School Board Caucus. We have Jeremy McDonald. He is the Superintendent of Box Elder Public Schools. He represents School Administrators of Montana. We have Dugan Coburn. He is the Director of Indian Education for Great Falls Public Schools, and he represents urban Great Falls. We have Melissa Hammett. She is the Indian Ed Specialist of Missoula Public Schools. She represents urban Missoula. We have Joe Aerotop. He is the MIEA Board Chair. He represents the Montana Indian Education Association. Our ex officio members, we have Superintendent Arnson representing the Board of Public Ed. We currently have an open position for the Board of Public Ed, so we're pending a position for that. We have a vacancy spot for the Bureau of Indian Education. We have Angela McLean. She's the Director of American Indian and Minority Improvement for the Montana University System, and she represents the Montana University System. And then we have a vacancy for the Tribal Head Start ex officio representative. We currently have 2 applications that we're looking at, and so that position should be pending. At the next MACIE meeting, they will be adopting a new position for the ex officio members, and they want to have a youth representative. Excuse me. So that position will be vacant. And then we currently have, for our tribal colleges, we have Dr. Richard Littlebear, and he represents tribal colleges. So, and I believe that position will be coming vacant when he retires. So that is who represents MACIE. That's the board members that we have, and the vacant positions that we have. We have a very amazing group of diverse representatives on the board, and it's really, really incredible to see so many tribal council members that are part of our board, and the excuse me, the different directors of education that are representative from all the different tribes. So, and they are so committed to the work that they do. What Todd presented was really the work that we've been doing in the last 6 months of, or I guess over the last year, of really trying to get strategic, getting some strategic planning going, and so that they could fulfill their role in the type of capacity that the intention of the MACIE board is. And then I act as a liaison. I am also on the I act as the liaison for OPI and the MACIE board, and so we just have a lot of fun in the work that we do. So if you guys have any questions, we wanted to give that overview of MACIE. The chairwoman Smith, she was supposed to be here today, but she went on vacation, so I think she's in lovely Hawaii right now, or Cancun, I think it is. And so I definitely didn't want to pull her away to have to do a presentation, and I was like, we'll do it for you. We got you covered. So that's where she is. She's probably gonna kill me for telling people that, but it's all over her social media, so that's okay. So if you guys have any questions.
Thank you, Todd. Thank you, Lana. Angela, do you have anything you'd like to share in your role as an ex officio member to MACIE?
One of the things I guess I would just like to begin with is how appreciative we are of this extraordinary partnership. It's another example of, I think, the great work that the two agencies are doing together on behalf of students and student success. And an idea that popped into my head and I shared with Todd in the chat was, I think it would be wonderful if we could get both of the advisory groups together, the MACIE Council and the AMA Council together at some point, and then make that a routine, perhaps annual gathering, and talk about our shared efforts in getting students to a place of success. So I will follow up with Todd, and we will see what we can do to see some of these notions today materialize in the not too distant future. If that sounds good, Todd and Lana, OPI team. Okay, I'll put that down on my list.
Thank you, Angela. Ronnie Jo, do you have any questions? Okay, well, thank you. We'll go ahead and record this and we'll send it out with the meeting materials to the legislators. I know they're very busy today, but I'm sure they're anxious to hear the update. Thank you, everyone, for your time. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you, everyone.
Goodbye.
Thank you, guys.